That's our second homeschooling panel this year, and hopefully we're making this things like twice a year, every year. The idea of this event is just to give people information and resources they need to start their homeschooling journey. A lot of parents, they have doubts. They don't know, like, what is homeschooling like? How is it to change from the system directly to homeschooling, or even if they start, they think whether they should try schooling or whether they should go to homeschool. When they start, the next question comes, where do I register? How do I, with whom do I call, and how do I pull my kid from school, or where do I supposed to register them to start homeschooling? Question comes after that, which methods I use. It's going to be another tons of resources that usually parents can answer. And the question comes after that, what about social part? And that is like, you're going to hear it this, like, if you're going to be homeschooling, I'm just telling you there's one thing that you're going to be hearing all time for the rest of your life. It's like, oh, your kids are going to be so unsocial. They're just going to be weird. They will not be able to communicate. So this is a very common misconception. Like, you will hear about this today. Like, some moms will tell you a little bit inside. How to fix this situation? I'll tell you with programs like SHiNE, which is our non-profit for homeschoolers, which unites everybody. Doesn't matter which boards they are. Doesn't matter what the methods of homeschooling are, what the kids' needs are. We unite everybody, and what they build is a common platform, resources, classes, field trips, social groups, anything the kids might need. So technically, when you join homeschooling, you will have way much more stuff. Like, why do you think I'm like this? Because I'm running every day 3 events. This is how unsocial kids doing. Like, they do. Today they had a farm trip, so I'm right from the farm trip. I'm here to the homeschooling panel, and tomorrow they're gonna have a wilderness camp, and then after tomorrow there's a park day, and then the next week it's every day. We have robotics, we have Lego clubs, we have art classes, pottery, anything you can imagine, every day. So technically it's more even busier than you could ever see in your life in school. And those connections and the relationship that your children are gonna build, if you choose homeschooling, they're gonna be way deeper and they're gonna be more meaningful. They're real friendships rather than the one they're gonna have in regular schools, because there they choose friends based on their interests, on their feeling, rather than just few kids put together in one room and they stuck there and they have no choice rather than be friends, kind of thing. So today, there's all boards coming here to present their methods and what the board has to offer to you. Then there's also a few homeschooling moms, some of them here, some of them going to be Zooming from UK. They're going to be telling you how to start your homeschooling journey, like how does it feel, how did they come to homeschooling in the first place, like what happened there before, why they chose it, and how it's going to be their way. And there's also going to be St. Albert Art and Heritage Society. They're going to tell you a little bit about homeschooling classes, of what those unsocial kids do there in their free time. So we're going to be starting, I guess, from this side. I would like to present to you Phoenix Foundation and Diana Steen. She's going to tell you a little bit of her board. You just, technically, you can tell the main points of what's the difference of phonics. And I would like to ask you guys, because there's people sitting there, if you could come here, that would be great. Like, so they all could see you. And we could also, should I move it? This one? Yes. Okay. So we could also take some pictures and videos of you.
Just my release,
Okay.
Good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Diana Stin. I'm with the Phoenix Foundation in Calgary. The Phoenix Foundation came out of an organization that was very similar to SHiNE, and it used to be called Cheers. We were 180 families who got together on a regular basis, same as what you do at SHiNE, and put on classes and field trips and all kinds of things. Eventually, Cheers folded and Phoenix emerged out of the flames. So Phoenix has been around for 14 years. This is our 15th year of running. We are an independent private school. And so we have our own facility and our own campus located in Calgary. We normally serve Calgary and surrounding area, and because we have our own facility, we have the distinct ability to be able to provide all kinds of unique services and so on. We provide a kindergarten program And that kindergarten program is geared specifically for families who intend to homeschool in the future. It's an on-site program held at our campus, and it's Tuesday and Thursday plus field trips. Then we also offer our Blend Ed program. And you're going to hear lots of different terms tonight, and my colleagues will explain some of those as we go, because they're very important that you understand, and there has been a change in terms over the last few years. So Blend Ed is our fully aligned program, and many homeschoolers choose to do that. So homeschooling is a unique term that covers a lot of different things. It can be everything from a parent-directed program all the way up to, gee, I sat with a guy on a panel a few years ago who was in charge of CBE's homeschooling, and his daughter was taking one online class and attending a brick-and-mortar high school, and he thought he was a homeschooler. So it can be all those kinds of ranges and absolutely everything in between. So when you meet a fellow homeschooler, your first question should always be, tell me, what does that look like for you? Because it's going to be different for every single family. So lots of families choose our Blend Ed program, which is our fully aligned and fully provided program. Then we also offer an online program, which is different from Blend Ed, because Blend Ed is part at our campus, part online and part in the community, whereas online, 100% online. Lastly, we offer traditional home education or parent-directed program. It is legally called home education, although you will hear terms like traditional, parent-provided. Did I miss anything? All those kinds of things. Okay, so home education is actually an Alberta education program, a government program. We all provide the same program. Some subtle differences because we're all unique providers, but it is a program that is defined by Alberta Education. So we all use the exact same notification forms. We all must provide receipt reimbursements and receipts and resource allocations as defined by the home education regulation. So we all have to play by the exact same rules and same set of boundaries for the program. But what defines each one of the people, and we'll all talk about our programs tonight, is some of the individual things. So some of us have a religious philosophy or background, some of us are secular. Some have a campus location, some do not. Some provide more access to field trips and support groups, some provide less. Some serve only specific parts of the province, others serve all parts of the province. Okay, so make sure that you ask those questions, and hopefully all of our colleagues here tonight will make sure that they share that information so that you know. But again, remember, the program parameters are set by Alberta Education, not by any one of us. I'm the network coordinator, so there are facilitators, homeschool facilitators throughout the entire province. I'm the network for the South group, and Brett with Fee is the network coordinator for the North group. So we have the distinct pleasure, sometimes, of coordinating meetings for all of the facilitators throughout the various parts of the province. We do our best to make sure that we share information and that everybody is up to date and current with all the regulations and the rules. So Phoenix is, like I said, primarily in Calgary, although we do serve home education families throughout the province. We are defined because we have a campus, a physical location, which means that we have a school chef and we have all kinds of teachers. We have 5 resident artists that work at our school. We have what's called a creation studio, and it's a 3,000 square foot space that we decorate. Our current theme is volcanoes. So it has a lava tube, and it has geysers, and it has volcanoes, and Hawaii is there, and rocks and minerals, and all kinds of fabulous things. And we offer classes on site for 5 weeks that cover all the different subjects. That's our primary thing, and we do what's called in the scene education. After volcanoes, we are going to do Hogwarts, then we do Madagascar, then we do bears, and lastly, we're all traveling to the UK so that we can study castles, knights, and all those kinds of fabulous things. So that's our area of expertise, is those programs. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I don't know what you're doing,
We
questions?
decided like usually questions we leave at the end, so all
Okay.
boards would have time, to present first, because otherwise it would be questions. Once they start, they never end, trust me.
Okay, so if you have any questions, like I said, hopefully that's provided a basic background about home education. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next presenter is going to be Willow Home. So it's going to be Joe and Marianne.
Yes.
If you guys, I don't know who is going to be talking, and you're going to be like,
Well,
Talking over more also.
I try talking and she always just takes over. So can I start?
You can start. Go
Awesome.
ahead.
So I'm Joe Smith. This is Anne-Marie Sparks, and we are representing Willow Home Ed. Willow Home Ed, our office is based out of Calgary, but we have staff located in Edmonton, and we serve the Edmonton families, the Calgary families, and all the way Grand Prairie, Lethbridge, Coaldale, and everywhere in between. So, like you mentioned, home education has different terms. So we would offer what is commonly known as traditional home education. That means that the parents are the instructors, and Willow would send out home education managers twice a year to your home to help you set up a program plan for your family. And then come again to what we call a celebration of learning in the fall.
In the spring.
I'm sorry, in the spring.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's why she comes.
Somebody's got to keep them on.
Someone's got to keep me in line. That's true. Now, our home education managers maybe have a little bit different experience that we can offer for our families, in that we are attached to a school. The authority that we're attached to is called the Third Academy. So the Third Academy is a school for children with special needs. Now, do you have to have special needs children to join us? No. But it just means that we are attached to that authority. We believe in professional development. So 12 days a year plus, at least, we do professional development with our staff. And we actually have we work with Mount Royal University, and they send professors to our school, and then we actually take courses with them for special needs children, programming for special needs, leadership, many different courses that our home education managers take and are trained. We also have, you can tell them about the access to the...
Well, we have access to all the teachers at Third Academy. So, for instance, we were there yesterday for one of our professional development days, and I was sharing resources with one of the teachers, and I had a specific question that I had just got from one of my families, and she said, well, come with me, and she brought me into her classroom and pulled up all these files on the computer and said, this is how you find them, this is what I have, and she had like 407 pages of phonics work. Okay, perfect, thank you.
So we have access to not just what your own education manager or facilitator would know, but we are also tapped into a much larger system that we can access. We are growing very rapidly. We've more than doubled our numbers of home education managers because we are more than doubled our numbers, and we are growing very rapidly. We offer and support many activities throughout the year. So Ingenation twice.
Well, the big one, Joe just got back from a field trip, 3 days to the ice fields.
That's right.
With a group of our high school kids.
So we took junior high and senior high out into the Columbia Ice Field, stayed at Mosquito Creek, and we just got back Monday night. So we do love outdoor education. We do hikes. We have some, right now we have some things out in Cochrane for outdoor education.
The wilderness camps in Cochrane.
That's
we
right.
have a swimming day coming up. We've bought group purchases to a whole bunch of theater performances in Calgary and in Edmonton. Just all the time we have stuff going on.
There is, and what we would invite you all to do, it doesn't matter whether you sign up with Willow or not, join Friends of Willow Facebook. Because Friends of Willow Facebook is an extremely active, educational, informative group of people. So just this morning when I woke up, I went to Friends of Willow, and there's like this happening, that happening, this happening, all these events that I'm not even technically...
Well, because there's SHiNE there, it's me and Karen.
That's right. That's right. And they're just happening, and they're a really good resource. And also you can tap into other people's experience, whether they're with Willow or not. You can ask questions, and people who've been around a while can help you. So it's a very positive, uplifting, and informative site. You manage it. Do you want to tell them anything else about that site?
One of the things that I've received a lot of feedback on is we have started specific threads for where to find resources for social studies. So you can go and click on our social studies and see resource after resource after resource that our families have recommended with a link to how to find it. So that's one of the nice things, to have it all organized in one place.
Do you have to be registered to use those sources?
No.
Okay.
No.
So anyone can sign up and become part of our group and have a look at whatever conversations are going on there.
We support education in Alberta. You don't have to just be with our group for that. Also, basically who we are is, we're different than many of the other ones in the fact that we're secular. So you can belong to any religion, any race, color, creed, and you're welcome, and we're happy to have you with us. We develop a program around your particular learning needs. So if you want to be coming from school and you want to just basically be doing school at your kitchen table, that's cool. That's one end of the spectrum, all the way to unschooling, which means you're following your children's passions, desires, talents, and you're using that as a guide. And of course, that guide will change as they get older to junior high and the senior high, as in the amount of flexibility you have, but maybe not, based on what your goals are, because we do grade 1 to grade 12, and we even have a new kindergarten program called Willow Sprouts. You like that? It's the only thing I ever came up with that was good. Well, why don't you tell them a bit about high school?
Okay. So we offer many different routes to do your high school education. You can choose to get a diploma, Alberta High School diploma, or not, and we support you in either one of those options. If you are choosing a high school diploma, we have what we call self-directed courses, where we help you design a course that will meet the learning outcomes. And so we would give you a course outline. We'd give you a course outline of what is actually required for that course. We'd give you sample proposals that other families have done. You would put together a proposal telling us what resources you're going to use, what work you're going to do, how you're going to evaluate the course. You submit it to us. We have a look at it as a team, and accept it or not, usually help you modify it slightly so you're meeting all the outcomes. You go home, your student completes all the work, you do the evaluations. At the end of the semester, at the end of the year, or whenever it's complete, you put together a portfolio, hand it in. We get together as a team and we have 2, 3, 4 days, depending on how many courses we have, and have high school marking parties.
We do.
We do.
In her hot tub.
Well, so we would take all the English 10 courses at once, we'd look at them all, and we would look at how the parents evaluated.
The marks go up toward the end.
Most of our students do some of their coursework like that, especially in areas of passion, because there's a lot of flexibility in what resources you use and how you meet those learning outcomes. And then a lot of our students also do some of the online courses with Alberta Distance Learning. So they usually have a combination, and both options are available to you.
Alberta Distance Learning must be done, though, through your registered school. You can't go to them directly. They're there to support schools in Alberta. They're not a school themselves, so you would just, if you're with us, you would contact your home education manager or myself, and we would put you into those, or register you for those courses.
And can I just put in mind of use for anyone here who is wondering about post-secondary after homeschooling? My own personal experience, I have 3 kids who have now graduated. 2 of them homeschooled all the way, grade 1 to 12, and my daughter's currently in her 2nd year of university and loving it and doing very well. And my experience with my own kids and with kids of families that we know is that those kids who have participated in self-directed learning in high school tend to do very well when they go on to post-secondary, because they've already taken responsibility for their learning. They're already functioning at that level, and they don't have a problem adjusting at all.
That's a fact. We'll just close with this then. So I was on this camp with these homeschooling kids, and the camp manager came up to me and he goes, "We've done thousands of groups." And he said, "This is the best group I've ever encountered." He said to me, "Why? I don't understand. What's different about your school?" I said, "It has nothing to do with my school." I said, "It has to do with the fact they're homeschoolers." Because he said, "Well, we are in the kitchen and you said I need someone to do the dishes." Every hand went up. "Oh." He said, "You guys wanted who to clean the school bus." every hand went up. He says, I'm not used to seeing that. You say, I want help. Normally the kids scatter. And I said, that's because these students are being raised by their adult. They're with their parents all the time. And so we end up with a result of kids who they know how to work, they know how to clean, they know how to be good citizens. And that, you talked about being social. Holy smokes. They have much bigger, much greater opportunity in the social environment, in a positive social environment that is supported by them and chosen by them. Thank you very much.
Can I just add to that?
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
You can. Yeah, she always has to have the last word.
I do. Well, like you were saying about social, my son was also on this trip, and these kids really wanted. He was friends with several of them before. Now his social group has expanded. They've all got group chats going. The photos have been going back and forth. They're planning a night. They're doing the Flashlight Friday night at the Port Maze next week. So these get-togethers are real. They're happening. They're real social. They're real friendships.
Yeah. We would say more, but Dan already covered it. Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Joy. So let's now hear Brett and Dee about base cohort. We'll go back to October.
Well, I definitely want to welcome everyone again. You are really here with the A teams of Alberta. You have lots of choice here in the province. And while Diane did say that home education here in Alberta is standard in terms of administration and requirements, each one of us here at the table, I would say we have our own little differences and niche areas and specialties. So that'll be your homework tonight to find out which is the best fit. But I would say everyone here at the table is a leader in home ed. I think everyone here is a win for you, right? So with that said, we would differ. Our little niche would be that we're also traditional home education. We are parent-directed. We are parent-led. And so with us, you have the option, like Joe mentioned, of being unschooling all the way to, I would say, schooling if you wanted to pursue credits. One question that you want to ask everyone here at the table is how they support or not support, homeschooling through high school. What kind of supports do they have? Do they have an on-site facility? Do you even care if there's an on-site facility? Sometimes when I ask my families, what's a sign of a good facilitator? What's a sign of a good a year? Some will say, well, I want lots of activities. I want a lot of help. I want a lot of support. And other families say, I just want to be left alone. So if you want to be left alone, make sure you ask.
What school board are you again? What school board are you?
The Home Education Exchange.
Home Education Exchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we changed our name last year. I always have to remember that. We changed the name to Traditional Home Education Experts. The word experts was one of those things where, really, we're going to call ourselves experts, but I couldn't think of another word that started with an E. So I just had to use experts. So what?
Excellent.
Excellence? Yeah. But we wanted to put the word traditional in there because we support parents who may or may not want to follow Alberta Ed. There are lots of options, and so we were talking before about the definition of home education. The whole reason the word traditional came into, my opinion, the word traditional had to come into the lexicon of home ed here in Alberta is because there are so many options. And so people were using terms rightly or wrongly, and so the word traditional came in to say we mean parent-directed. Because sometimes online learning at home, they say, oh, I'm homeschooling. Like, okay, you're homeschooling, but you're not home educating. Oh, what's the difference? So when you hear the word traditional, it means you, the parent, are in charge. So that's another thing you want to ask everyone here at the group is how they define parent-led. Because some groups are some groups lean more toward the school side, and some groups lean more toward the parent-directed side. And each has their advantages and disadvantages. So it's just a matter of you finding the right fit. With us, we do provide, I think just like Joe and Diane said, we also provide options on both ends of the spectrum. So we'd be happy to talk to you about what that looks like as well. ADLC is something that we offer. Online learning is something we offer. We will soon have an on-site location in Short Park. So we'll be looking at trying to catch up with Willow and trying to catch up with what Diane's doing with the on-site activities, because in the past we haven't had an on-site spot. Hopefully we'll be in that building in the middle of November. But anyway, I think, like I said, everyone here is a leader in Alberta. Alberta has an incredibly strong home education presence and group of leaders. So I definitely encourage you to talk to everybody here at the table and really ask those questions that are personal to you, right? I mean, talk to them about what you want to accomplish and see if it's just the right fit for you. So,
Thank you, Brad.
Principal of Vermilion Homeschooling and School of Hope. We're a Catholic school based, but we work with all faiths and non-faiths. We work with everyone who wants to come aboard. We've been doing this for a while. This is, I think, 30 years now that we've been in this business. So we kind of been around and seen all the twists and turns. So and it's been our pleasure to be able to provide some support for families over all this time. So we have a staff that has a lot of experience. Basically, I don't want to repeat, and you're going to hear a lot of the same things. So what I'm going to try to do is, what's our main three things?
That's what I asked for.
That's
So
right.
you got it.
I'm hearing you, Marie.
What's the difference?
All right. So, yeah, basically, we like you've heard, we work with families because we believe that the primacy of the parent, right? You're here because you want to be in charge. And so we're trying to facilitate that in three different ways. And you've heard there's the spectrum. Well, we've defined the spectrum into three categories. And I'm just going to give you a brief what makes us different in the different three categories. Will do. First one is, of course, the parent-directed one. So in the parent-directed one, we work with you with the way that you want. You want a lot of support, we're there to help you. You want to do your own thing, we're there to help you, right? We have something that makes us a little different is because the other arm that I'm going to speak about in a few minutes is more of a teacher-directed arm. So we have a part of our school that we've developed materials to allow homeschooling to happen using Alberta Ed curriculum. So it's, if you like was mentioned by Brett, I believe, if you just sit down at the table and do your brick and mortar stuff at home. So we facilitated that in a package, and we allow our parent-directed families access to those packages. Some of them use them, some of them don't use them. You're fine. Some of them use them just as a touch point to see where am I at. Like, I'm doing my own thing, but I want to see where if my child is where I think they are, and they use our grade package to kind of see how it works. So whatever way that they want to use it, that's what we're here for, to support you. Other thing that we do is facilitate the homeschooling parents, the parent-directed program, get credits and get a diploma. We have also a little graduation ceremony for all the students that we organize, and that's really quite nice. They have a lot of things that they would sometimes miss out on, and so it's a very important stage for them. I'm sorry, but I think we're told not to take questions till the end.
Sorry, just remind a little bit. So first, we give a chance to all the boards present themselves, and then the questions will follow in the end. So then you could stay,
Sorry.
They're wrapping up.
Okay, so yeah, we do a little graduation ceremony, and then they have their slideshow, and they have a little supper and the whole bit there. And often we get our local MLA to come and all that kind of stuff. Another thing that we do is we have a lot of workshops and activities. I think in the Edmonton area we had about 25 to 30 things last year throughout the year of workshops that we put on, or activities and trips. And there's a list there beside our documents there if you're interested in what kind of stuff is he talking about. There's a list there.
So here is the table with all handouts and with registration packages as well. So if you feel like registering today, and I'm urging you to register today, because actually we have have all day, yes, so they will look like they're all going to be nervous because the last day is going to be Friday.
Tomorrow.
It's like tomorrow, Friday. They will
Tomorrow.
Friday. Okay, for wisdom. It is.
No, if they're in school on Friday, the school will claim them.
Okay.
So you have to be out of the school by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow. So if you guys want to like you literally just grab it and fill it today, give it to Kim, and so he would be happy. So just the registration packages is here. You can take it with you. You can just like look at it while you listen. So it's all this thing.
All right. Yeah, so that's the list that we have back there are the activities in the Edmonton area. We have, of course, different activities in our other centers. We have a Edmonton area center. We have one in Calgary. We have one in Lethbridge and one in Vermilion as well. So those are different centers that we have available for you. So that's number one, parent directed. Number two is our shared program. What we have is, sorry to get the post in the way there for you, sir. What we have is, at some stages, sometimes as the students get a little bit older, the parents start thinking, some of them are fine, some of them start thinking, well, I'm not so sure about my high school math, or I think I need some help there. So we have a program called the Shared Program where we have teachers, certified teachers that are there to assist students with particular subjects. So you still would be the parent directed for part, and you do what you feel confident in. And if you need a little bit of help and support, that's where the shared program takes over. And it would be Alberta curriculum, doing the, I guess we have different things available for that in terms of support. But we have the package there, and the students can work either by themselves or they can work with the teacher materials. And our last point, our last category is for the teacher directed. So it's fully at the other end of the spectrum, and this is where you have full teacher support. So the teacher would be in charge of doing all the assessment for you, and they're doing the same things, or the same things that they would in an Alberta school, with some modification, but the same end goals as an Alberta curriculum, right? But in this spectrum, we have lessons that are online, that are live, that the students can go. Each day we have daily online lessons that they can go and tune in and see other students online, or they can interact with the teacher, or they can not go. Even at this level, there is flexibility. So we have it asynchronous learning, it's called, another term to throw at you. But basically it means you don't have to be there at that time. You can access the lesson because it's recorded and posted and put it online, so you can access the lesson later, anytime that night, next week, next year, or you can not even use the lessons at all and just do your own thing. So all those possibilities exist in the three programs: the parent-directed, the shared, and the teacher-directed. And where I think what we like to focus on is that there's no one good way to do this, right? It's what works for you, and what works for you may change over the years. So we have a lot of our families start over here, they end up over here, they come here, they decided they want to go back over here, and that's fine. Every year we work with them where they like to be in their stage, and their families' needs change, so if their family realities change, whichever way works, we're here to support the parent. So that's School of Hope, Vermilion Homeschooling.
The registration package is here. So if anybody wants to pick one, you get here. And now this is V2 Academy. And there will be lots of different things about V2 Academy. Just because you have a school actually here.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Hi, I'm Verity Johnson, and I'm representing E2 Academy. I'm the facilitator in Edmonton. Rachel, our principal, was supposed to be here tonight, but she sends her regrets as there was a workplace injury. So, anyhow, so we're a private school located in, we rent space in a church in Edmonton. We're secular, and our building school provides, well, it's a private school for twice exceptional learners. So those are learners who are usually gifted or very intelligent. but also have other things that get in the way of their learning, whether it's diagnoses with learning difficulties, Tourette, ASD, or autism spectrum disorder, and whichever other things. And so we work, our passion is to provide a strength-based, talent-based program for children, and that is what motivated us to also have a homeschool option as well. Because we realize that each family is very different, and each child is very different, and what works for one family or one model doesn't work for everything. And so our programming, we offer grades 1 through 12, and we have traditional as well as the shared responsibility, or what used to be called blended. And we offer as well, you can, we offer support for children with special needs. And so if they were, let's say, previously coded or in school, and you want to carry on having an IPP and that type of support, we offer to come in and write that for you so you have it on record. So if in the future time you decide to go back into school, you already have evidence that of the type of support that they needed and that was successful for them. As well, we also have just the traditional, where you don't have to be a twice exceptional learner. You just, any neurotypical person can be a part of. And we tend, because our philosophy is strength-based in our school as well as in our home education, we tend to be very flexible in assessments, because a lot of times you're assessing children who may not do the traditional evidence of pen to paper, that type of situation. And so we use online, we use an app called Seesaw. There's probably a lot of schools that use that, but it allows us to record incidental learning, conversations, success that they have on a computer game or whatever, and using that method, as well as I'm working with the family and just working alongside them to come up with a plan. That's how our supervision of learning happens. So we also do the 2 home visits a year. We come out, we work with you to decide what is the best plan, depending on your child's strengths. And you have the option of, as well as all the other programs that have the shared responsibility and traditional, deciding which parts you want to meet Alberta home education regulations, and which parts are also going to be the official Alberta Ed curriculum. So we work with you. We have, we buy materials for you and help you, but it's very much in line with what you as a family are wanting to do. So that's pretty much sums us up.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Was it too academy?
So, give me a moment or two to just talk about what education actually is. Learning is an extremely natural thing. And learning occurs best when there's a relationship between the learner and the teacher. And of course, the best relationship, the most fruitful relationship, is that between parents and their children. And learning has always been something that has happened within the context of the home. The ancient Greeks started to formalize education a bit, and so they began to realize that, there are stages of learning. And then began to realize from birth, pre-birth, to about the age of 12, children learn best by memorization, by mimicking. They mimic what other people do. That's how your kids learn, right? They learn to do the things that you're doing. And that's a very important part of learning, because then what else do you want them to memorize when they're at that strong memorization stage? You want them to memorize their numbers, their times tables, the basic grammar, those kinds of things that you can teach them easily at that age because they remember easily. And the more you do memorization, the better that faculty is developed. If there's anything that's happening in our world right now with instant information in the palm of your hand, is that we're taking less effort to actually memorize things because we can just look it up. And my grandfather, at the age of 95, was still reciting poetry that he learned when he was a young child. It's phenomenal for the brain to develop that capacity to memorize. So if you're going to homeschool, memorize, memorize, memorize. Do poetry, read prose and memorize that. And by the time a student is 12, they're pretty much, I mean, we memorize all through our life. But by the time you're at age 12, you're not turned on by memory work anymore. And unfortunately, our school system, yeah, I'll go there. In the early 1800s, this model of learning that had been going on since the early Greeks, 300, 350 BC, suddenly in the early 1800s, governments became interested in education for their own means. And, there are excellent teachers in the system. And the most excellent among them would love to teach without having to answer to the bureaucracy. Because government, if it supports something, it wants some kind of report. Okay, how well is that child doing? Well, a child's learning. The child's learning really well, but no, we need numbers. And that's actually what strangles good learning. Your best teachers feel strangled by it. Many of them end up leaving the system. So government has taken that first stage of learning till about the age of 12, the memorization stage, and has launched it all the way to university. Because how do we know how well you've done on your bachelor's degree if you can't memorize something and regurgitate it on a test? And so we have basically sacrificed the whole system to the requirements of government. Because that next stage, when a child is about 12 to 14, 15 years old, is the logical stage where they want to read good literature and discuss it. And if you did nothing with your child except read good stuff and discuss for those 3 years, you will do them the best favor. Because that's how they gain their perspective on the world. You don't have to memorize the world. You need to learn about it. And that's where their minds literally take off. In the school system, we call that junior high. And when I went to university, they said, that's just a holding pen. You just keep them there until they mature enough to get to high school. And you will notice in the school system, nothing new is introduced in junior high. And that is a crime. Because that is probably the most fruitful time in terms of learning about the world. And then high school, get into the high school years, and really what you're doing is you're taking all this, learning more stuff, learning all the time, but then giving it back to the world. And that's what education's all about. You mimic, you think about it, and then you start to give back. You start to think and express yourself in a way that you can actually change the world. And that is what gets the zeal of young people. They get dumbed down by the system and they hate school. You actually use their natural learning and they will love learning for all of their life. Okay, have I used up my time? Okay. But I can tell you a little bit about wisdom. I'll tell you a little bit about wisdom. The reason wisdom began is because... Sorry, is that too long?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Is because of this very situation. And we're seeing that people were being strangled by this imposition of bureaucracy. So our job is to get between you and the bureaucracy so that you can be the primary educator of your children. And so you say, well, are you secular, are you religious? We're nothing. We're everything. We're whatever you are, because the parents actually developed the program, and we only do parent-delivered programs. So if you want a school-delivered program, go to one of these other people who do those things and do those things well. But we only focus on parent-delivered programs because that's enough work in itself. And so all of the activities that we do during the year, We do some great books courses where students actually can read great books and discuss them online. But, especially, absolutely with the junior level of these, the parent must be online with the student. So it's not a school-delivered thing, it's a parent thing, and all we're doing is we've got a tutor that's helping them get through this material and discuss it with others online and with each other at home. As they get into high school, they don't have to have their parent, but the idea is the parents are in charge of this. And so there are a number of things, a number of activities, you can read them. I brought a whole bunch of information packages. Even if you don't want to be with Wisdom, grab one, because there's some good stuff in here about getting through high school at home and other great information on homeschooling. And there's a notification form. And Brett brought some, and I brought some extras. If you do nothing else tonight, make a decision. And make sure your child is not in school on Friday if you plan on homeschooling this year. Because technically, if they're in there cleaning out their locker on Friday, the school will claim them as a school student and they'll get their funding for the whole year. And so you'll have nothing for resource funding for the whole year. There are unfortunately, a lot of principals say just stay till the end of September and you'll be okay. We've got all these things going on, field trips and stuff in September, and then you go ahead and homeschool. Yeah, they know very well that means your money is going to stay with them and you'll have nothing to homeschool with. So please, whoever you notify of your intent to homeschool, do it and make sure your child checks out of school tomorrow. And they're yours on Friday.
So it was wisdom. Now we finished with all the school boards.
Good evening. My name is Isabel Onaba. A little over a year ago, I joined the Arts and Heritage Foundation of St. Albert as the Marketing and Communications Coordinator. Now, because my sisters-in-law are homeschooling moms, I was aware of the benefits of homeschooling to not only the children, but to the relationship of the parent with the child, and as well as the benefits to the parents. So when I got into my position, I was so excited and just eager to get homeschooling out there. All the programs that we offer to a bigger platform and a bigger audience, which is how I got in touch with Maria. Maria was kind enough to indulge all my emails. I sent numerous emails. She responded, and we collaborated on how we can work together with SHiNE and have our programs go to her audience. Now, the art programs that are offered by the Art Gallery of St. Albert are more than just art. They're history, they're geography, and they're Indigenous education. So an example is the worry dolls. So worry dolls actually come from Guatemala. They're these teeny tiny dolls that you have the little wires and you kind of wire them together. And basically the child goes home with this doll in a little box and they tell the doll all their worries and their worries are supposed to go away. Now I could come from it from a marketing perspective where I'm telling you, sign up for this program. I've never taken it, I don't know what it entails, but actually my 6-year-old niece I took for that homeschooling program. And she has that teeny tiny worry doll still. She decorated the box with purple flowers and pink flowers and she tells the worry doll all her problems. And they're supposed to just vanish away. And she knows that those worry dolls actually come from Guatemala. Another interesting homeschool program that, again, I participated in is the Birchback Baskets. We recently launched a couple of our Indigenous education art programs that are supposed to not only educate you in art, but also give you history and more about Indigenous culture, because we are in line with the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. And so with the Birchback Baskets, the children do learn about how they create these baskets that they collect food in, or they could collect water in, and basically what they use them for. Now, our art programs are for everyone. We welcome people from all levels of experience, we welcome people from all backgrounds, and we want to show that our art programs are for everyone, which is how Maria, again, was kind enough to participate in a video I orchestrated for the Art Gallery of St. Albert to basically depict that that anyone can come to one of our art classes and anyone can participate in them. We have community art classes that are offered. We have homeschooling art programs as well. And you can register for any one of them. The Musée Heritage Museum is going to be launching a few more of the homeschooling programs as well, which are going to be focused on history of St. Albert, on Alberta history, and also on Indigenous education and Indigenous culture. So if you would like to sign up, please go ahead and sign up. You can go to our website and you can visit and just look through, see which homeschool programs appeal to you and your children. And even if you don't sign up for any of our homeschool programs, please feel free to pass by the Musée Heritage Museum or the St. Albert Heritage Sites or the gallery, the Art Gallery of St. Albert. We are a nonprofit, so admission is by donation, and we're open to everyone, welcoming people from all over. Thank you so much.
The homeschooling programs, if you're interested in St. Albert, they are running on Tuesdays. So the Tuesday is the whole homeschooling day. They start 10:30 for art, and then another one is going to be 1:30 for clay. So they are going to be followed by the same idea. So it's the same topic. For example, if in the morning you're doing like it's going to be like the art South American. In the afternoon, you're going to be making clay with the same topic. So it's good like to have that day, like if in your homeschooling schedule, just be dedicated to social studies and art, because those two you can claim on your educational plans as a field trip or classes to St. Albert Gallery. And actually, if you sign up with SHiNE, you also get on the top of that, you can claim it. You get 25% off of all day classes too. So the next one is going to be Tuesday, if anybody interested in. So now let's listen to parents here. So there is some parents who actually managed to go through the whole journey and homeschool their children all the way, and they know a lot about homeschooling, and they can give you advices from their perspective. Because now like, we've heard the opinion of boards, we've heard the opinion of other organizations that kind of involved in homeschooling. So now let's hear about parents, like what brought you to homeschooling, like why you started it and how was it hard? Are you kids social? So now, let's hear from Karen. Karen Carlton is actually a leader for the group that's called All About Homeschooling. You can find them on Facebook, and you can look at the content and the things that they have to offer. Let's listen.
Hi, I'm Karen Carlton, and I run About Homeschooling group. So we are a support group in Parkland. So we started 3 years ago because we felt that there was a huge, of moms weren't getting encouraged enough. They needed help and they needed moms around them. So we started this group for all of Parkland. So we range from Devon to Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, St. Albert, and then I've actually joined with Maria with Edmonton, so we have quite a few too from Edmonton that come, and they join in with everything that we do. So, so I'm a homeschool mom. I've done it twice now. I'm on my second. So my 2 older boys graduated and already are grown and gone. I have grandbabies, and my one grandbaby is 6 and my daughter is 5. So we started all over again. And so now I have grade 7, grade 5, and grade 1. So this year. My boys both have gone on to, one of them is a welder for a big, huge company here in town, and went and did his schooling. Graduated and is fine. And the other one is married, 2 children, and he is in some kind of amazing computer. He doesn't, I don't even know what he does.
But it's amazing.
He's done very well. He was headhunted right out of NATE, and so from then on, he's been fine. They all live in Spruce Grove, where we are. And then my other 3 children just love to be homeschooled, and they love the environment, and I've done it from the very beginning with these ones, and they love it. So Now, about homeschooling is an encouragement. We have encouragement nights for moms. We do paint nights. We do whimsical creation nights. We do coffee nights. We do, we get together. We do park days. If it's raining, it's at my house. Your 20 children can come to my house. We do all sorts of things for the community and the area. And we just love to be with, the moms and the dads and whoever needs the support. And anything else that if you look us up and come join us as a parent, we do lots of great things together. We have huge swimming classes. We've got over 250 in a swimming program right now at the Tri. We just...
So going through this journey, is there any advice that you just came to and you would like to give to parents who just starting? It's like the first year.
You know what?
Is there important things they should
Don't
know?
give up. Find a friend. Find somebody that you can be with. Find, somebody that you can confide in. And you know what? Find a support group close to you. So find somebody that's your person. And you know what? There's lots out there. There's so many support groups now. So many people are helping each other. Online even. I do, my great thing is Julie Borgart with Poetry Tea Time. I love listening to her. I love everything that she's about. My son would not read. He hated reading. He's 9 now, but we started Poetry Tea Time 2.5 years ago. He would not read, not at all. And since we did that, it was a very nice, easy day. We'd bake something. We'd get tea on or hot chocolate. And he's the first to read now. So he's a great reader now. It's just the environment that you set your children in.
Is there any methods that you use, like, there's Charlotte Mason, there's classical, there's like eclectic,
I'm very traditional. I've changed. My boys were very like this with them when we were first together. And now these three, I'm very, not unschooling, I'm very traditional, but we do our programs. I love all about I love all about spelling, all about reading. I love all the hands-on.
The side note, for those who doesn't know.
Yeah, it's curriculum.
It's like some people, they just started.
It's just a curriculum, and it's just very hands-on. I'm very hands-on with my kids. I love teaching them. I love the way to be able to work with manipulatives. I do Right Start Math. I love, So if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here for you. But any kind of, we do lots of co-ops. We do lots of painting classes, lots of create clubs. So anything and everything we try to put together.
Yeah.
Just like SHiNE does. So, and that's why we actually work together now. So that way our numbers can get us better deals at different places. So.
Okay. Do you have a business card, or are you on Facebook, or?
We're on Facebook. Yeah, about homeschooling.
Okay.
All about
Just called About Homeschooling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's about homeschooling. It's not about anything else. It's about homeschooling. So my husband was one day, he was like, you guys, you just need to listen and just listen. It's about homeschooling. And I'm like, yeah, that's the name. So that's how it came. It's just about.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Okay, now we're going to hear Annette. The difference about Annette is that she's actually moved from being a teacher and her children to being in public school, right? They were public school. From her children being from like regular classroom, public school, to becoming a homeschooling mom. So what led to that drastic change then? Let's hear the story.
Yeah, well, it's trippy to be in this building because when I was 18, I was downstairs when it was a public library tutoring. 9 years ago, I was down the road teaching in a classroom in a Francophone school. That's my background. And it's always been my story for education. So we moved out to the country out by Pigeon Lake. And I had 2 kids And I love them dearly, but I also know what our family has, and we're not strong readers, that we bring genes to like strong readers. So I knew this was coming on the table, and I go to the public school and I met with the teacher, and I said, hey, I said, you know, I know that I'm bringing you some fun stuff here. She goes, don't worry. She goes, I get ya. My son too, I get ya. So first year goes by, my son's miserable every single day, crying, trying to get out of bed. Second year goes by. I didn't get better. Long story short, Maria and I met. Our kids were both struggling through this. I remember chatting with you for so long in the grocery store, because at that time, I eventually let people know that I was a teacher, and I ended up starting to sub. So now I was inside of these classrooms. It's a rural community, so there's lots of several little small schools. So now I was traveling inside of the schools. So on top of watching my kids come home at night, which was a completely different perspective on teaching that I'd never seen before, and I was actually wanting to call some parents up and say, I'm so sorry. But I learned a lot. I saw that perspective, but then I was also subbing inside the schools. Now I'm not going to start saying, oh my gosh, like, I just knew that if I didn't step in on behalf of my kids, I knew that they were going to just drown. I hate to be so blunt about it, but I knew. 2 years ago, I picked up my kids off the floor. And when I talk about that, I talk about Robert. I remember I was so excited to homeschool. I'm like, I'm going to YouTube this. And I sat Robert at the counter. I put a pencil in his hand. He melted into tears and fell off his chair and was devastated that I was going to make him write again. He couldn't do it. He was done grade 2. He had dropped out of school emotionally. My grade 1 son, he's funnier. He loves to joke. So I get to his class and I'm checking out his work. And I see his booklets all filled out. I'm like, hey, David, I know what you do at home, but I mean, we do a lot of, I think I heard the term after schooling. I was working so hard with them, trying to get their numbers, trying to get their reading. I was doing everything I could. They were already tired, they were already exhausted, and they were dropping out of school in grade 1 and 2, by the end of grade 1 and 2, okay? So I say to David, I'm looking at his book, grade 1 little kid. I said, David, how'd you get this all in there? He goes, oh, don't worry, Mom. You just wait. She puts it up on the board, you just copy it. And she said to us, this is stretching it a little bit, she said, if you miss it, copy off your friend. So that when parent-teacher stuff comes, the books are all full, it all looks good. None of the parents that I talked to when I pulled my kids out of school, they're like, oh, radical, yeah. Do you know what your kid's doing? Because I knew, because I was in the schools. I was in that class, I was in the next class, I was in the other class, and I knew where this was going to go. I have very smart children, but not on paper, not with reading, and that was normal for my background. I was okay with that. I just didn't expect that in 2018 the school wouldn't be okay with that. I just couldn't believe the gap there. So for us, it was important because when I had them home, they had already given up. And so my first year of homeschooling was literally picking them up off the floor and getting them re-engaged. Right Start Math was brilliant because my son David couldn't figure out how to get past 10. He couldn't get to 20. He couldn't get the concept. And he was going into grade 2, they're counting to 100. He was so lost. He's like, don't worry about Mom, just sit quiet, they're not gonna see you. I'm like, you're grade 1. This is absurd that you know this already. I was astonished, I was stunned. I was more stunned about how many parents didn't know that their kids weren't doing good in school either. Never gonna tell them, it's not my job to, but I wish I could. When I got here today and I saw all the parents here and I saw you guys getting informed, see, I didn't know that. And I came and I just was so excited that Maria invited me because I wanted to tell you one thing, is that with all this background and all this super belief that yes, this is amazing to do something different, I also was super scared. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. I go off into a classroom of 30, boom, 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 all over the place. No problem. I can deliver lessons, do this, I'm totally loving it. But then I think of taking my own 2 kids at home and you would not believe how nervous I was. Can I do this? Can I really support them? And I think that's not actually a fear of not being good enough. I think that's just an overabundance of loving on your child and wanting to be amazing. So don't let that be something that holds you up. Because even teaching and loving teaching, I still had that same thing. I was like, what if I fail them? Well, that's funny, they're already failing. I mean, you should have seen David's report card. No. But he's a good kid. He's funny. That's great. So there's so much you can do. Now here's the second thing that I discovered. I didn't go out looking for help. I was very scared. I tucked home and I picked my kids up off the floor and I encouraged them and I loved on them. The first thing we did is we did phys ed. I got them out and playing and worked them until they were so tired they would read. And then I worked on. I had no idea until the end of this year that this kind of support was here. And you should see. I met Karen tonight. I am so excited. Do you know how big Parkland is? It's huge. I'm from the Wetaskiwin County. I actually didn't go very far. I stayed right inside the school board. There's a facilitator there who has, you know how every now and then you meet a person who goes above and beyond? She's one of those. She'll come to your house and just take care of you. She's incredible. So I didn't go very far. I didn't have to, but I didn't know how much support there was. Do you know I have more resources available to me than when I was teaching in a Francophone school? I can't believe it. I had to make my own lessons when I was teaching. Here, it's given. In fact, all these wonderful people who did excellent, thank you, by the way, thank you, wonderful. I'm so excited now. I'm like, oh, this is even more amazing than I thought. I thought I had to do it all on my own. I didn't know that all this help was there. And I didn't know that all this was around. I didn't know that groups like that were around. I've never had more support teaching as I do when I'm a homeschool parent. That's been phenomenal. I want you to feel super encouraged that you will find, promise you, the person who's your style. You will find the curriculum who's your style. You will find the school board to really reach out and support your kid. And what you said, sir, about the relationship, that's key right there. I have watched families torn apart and they launch into homeschooling, and I have been guilty of saying, oh my goodness, she's gonna homeschool? I thought that. I thought, how in the world is she going to pull this off? And do you know what happened inside the family? Is they connected again. They found a way to live together again. They built relationships instead of, hey, I don't have to deal with you very soon. You're going to go off to school. I'm just going to endure you for a couple more hours and then I'll send you to school. It's got to be the school's fault why we can't understand each other. No, those relationships are rebuilt. Your family's stronger. Your support team is stronger. The friends. I just ranted yesterday about the social thing. Oh my goodness, that social thing. I teach in schools. There is no space or time or attention given to social skills. So I don't know what they mean when they say they learn social skills at school. Nuh-uh, it's send them out at recess, see which ones come back unbroken. It's not social skills, it's Lord of the Flies out there, okay? It really is. And so I stand super strong that you can do this. And that you will find, that was what I was so glad to have the opportunity to say this, but I'm so excited to meet all of you guys. And I encourage you, like Ken said too, he said, make your decision tonight. I was going to say, get them out of school. And I mean that. So, but go ahead and do that because you will find the support you need.
Yeah.
And if you're scared, we all are. And that's what's so great about we all are. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. You do have enough because you care about those kids. That's what you need. Thank you so much, and good luck tonight. Ask lots of questions. Have fun.
Traditional home education.
Okay, and now Willow Home, you guys only traditional or do you do online too?
Traditional parent-directed home ed.
Only traditional and parent-directed. I'm just trying to give you key points already so you would know how to ask and worry if you plan to have any questions. And School of Hope is aligned to lots of that, right?
We have parent-directed, blended, and teacher-directed.
So School of Hope is everything. Okay, they have all three options. Wisdom,
One
traditional.
option. Yeah, just parents.
Traditional, parent-directed, and then E2 Academy, I guess everything, right?
We have the traditional and shared responsibility, grades 1 through 12. I don't think we have any students yet who would be
aligned.
That's a whole other.
But they have schooling.
But yes,
if you guys, if you wanna go aligned,
and they also accept homeschool registrations after September 30th because sometimes life goes kablooey and yeah. So
That's great. There's actually some. Is there any funding, or do you just get them
There's no
unfunded?
funding, and
Unfunded.
we do charge a $400 fee just to cover the teacher thing.
Okay,
But
but there is a
Yes,
way.
But there is a way to still be supervised and not have your child have to go to school when school
Okay,
doesn't work for them.
that's a good option too. Okay, and now with the, it's going to be traditional and online programs.
V itself is traditional only,
Yeah.
but we definitely would support.
Because I thought that's what
Well,
the change is for.
Yeah, we're working with another online program as part of the school system, but it's not part of V.
Okay.
And then within V, we certainly help families who want the high school option.
Okay, so
through
this is mostly
traditional ways, but like someone else mentioned before, course challenge
Okay.
and some other options. through
Okay.
homeschooling.
Okay, thank you. Now, Andy, you're still there. Yes, it kind of is going to be for the again the parent and the line too, right, guys? Would you have a?
I do home ed.
With parent directed, teacher directed, and shared responsibility. So we have
So you all three too.
all families.
Okay, so they have all three options too. And now, if you have any questions, yes, there is a question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I had a question for all the boards. Is there a board that will take somebody mid-year and without having to pay a fee? Yeah. Anybody else?
What we do is we do charge a $230 fee, but if you return to us the next school year, we add that to the amount that you get reimbursed. Because
So would it deduct from next year's total?
it gets added to that. You get reimbursed in the next year. Just because some families join homeschooling for not always the best reasons. And so this is a way to make sure that if they join, they're really serious about home education.
You do it for the parent.
And Diane, would you charge or?
You charge a fee for the parent directed?
No, it's.
Not parent directed.
Oh.
I'm just saying, the other programs, shared and teacher directed, we don't accept after, so.
Oh, okay.
So we do accept into all of our programs. So for home education, we charge $80 a month is our fee if you are after the September 30th deadline. And that's partially because we have a facility. And so you can come and sit and have coffee, you can meet other parents, but somebody has to pay the electricity bill. And then we do accept parents into our regular program, our aligned program. And the fee for that is $475 a month. But then we provide all the books, the teacher, the whole aligned program. And that's field trips and all kinds of things as well.
And
So
Phoenix?
that's Phoenix. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, no problem. Yes?
I just want to say to this lady and that gentleman, you know, it's not always a sad story either about pulling families apart, because I was really, really involved with my daughters going to school, and I watched how the systems were and how they taught my daughters. And it got to the point even where, because the first school here that they came to was in Edmonton here, and then we moved up north, and they were in Northland School, and we were on a Métis settlement because I worked in a Head Start program with children and stuff like that too. So anyway, I was so involved with my children. My girls thought I was crazy because I followed them everywhere. I was so involved. And it got to the point where teachers even thought, this is strange, you want to volunteer in the classroom. And I was, why not? If I can, why not? Because I want to see what they're doing. Like you said, you worked in the school and you got, but I was curious about what was going in there, right? So now my daughters are grown up. I mean, they succeeded, but they were discouraged by the time, they were going into high school, and they ended up boarding out. And so I'm traveling back and forth like a crazy woman, plus working and everything else. But I was still involved, so we were still together because I was so involved in that. Now I educate my grandson, and he's in grade 5 now, and this is his 5th year in school and home education, but we're everywhere. So I'm still involved, but I mean, it's still school is okay, but it's, it's up to the parent too, right? Yeah, so I mean, and when you do look at the systems, and I'm not going to, put down all the systems or whatever, but I mean, I've seen it on the political end. Oh my God, right? Because, I mean, I was involved too with, young offenders, and plus, schools coming in and talking about the bully system, and that's one of the things that,
I want to strangle, kids too, right, from the bullying system. But, still, this is part of the reasons why I homeschooled. But, I mean, I was with, when I first did it, I was like you, like, oh my God, where do I start? Got my grandson. But I ended up registering with the Argyle Center, and I got even a hard time there. Like, it was so tight, like I felt like I was in a concentration camp there, like, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, this is parent directed. And finally, I pushed back, and then they got a little scared, and I'm like, oh, I said, this is last year for me, So that's why I'm here today, to see what's all out here, right? Yeah.
So now what's the question then?
My question? Okay. Yeah, I just had to tell a story because of the way it was different too. But I mean, for the visitations, like they do this, they said it was a new thing. I talked to a lady from the Hope School or the Hope Board there, and they
Hope or the Hope School?
The Hope Board or somebody from the
Hope School. Barbara?
Christian School or School of Hope?
School of Hope, something anyway. Hope. And they said that they have to come into your house twice a year for the visitation because the government put in this new thing or whatever. So
All
do you guys,
them.
yeah. So do you guys who offers you can go to your facility or do they come to your home? It's like. Because in the Argyle Center, we had to go there, right?
You have to go. Okay, so she's trying to know if there is a place she has to come in or there's a facilitator who will come to her home.
Yeah, we provide a facilitator. Our facilitators, too, are all homeschooling parents themselves.
Right.
So they're living in the trenches. And they come to you, but by law, you don't have to let anyone in your home.
That's right, yeah.
So the facilitator will meet you in a convenient place.
Okay.
But they are required, have been required since 1994.
Yeah, I don't
It's been
mind.
required
It's just, I
to have
understand
two
you got to do
visits.
your proof and all that. It's just like, holy smokes, they gotta come in the home. I go, okay, I got to do my dishes now.
You have to remember that just the same, as you're mentioning, is that all of our homeschooling parents, all of our home education managers, facilitators, have homeschool. They're there with you. When they left their house, there was toys on the floor and dishes in the sink.
Oh,
so
yeah,
but also it's all about the comfort of the family. So if you want to meet, we meet at libraries, at A&W, whatever. We prefer to come into the home because we feel like we can better serve you there. But if your comfort is the most important thing.
So it's nothing political, you guys?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Then would you come or do you have to drive to Calgary? If there's somebody who picks up.
So we will, if anybody is outside the Calgary area, we will come and visit you. But if you're in the Calgary area, then we invite you to come to our facility because again, it's a great way for us to be able to pull books off the shelf, to be able to show different things. And you don't have to clean your house. And you can have coffee and we serve tea and cookies is how all of our meetings go. So that way, like I said, there's no pressure on you to clean your home or any of those kinds of things.
Okay. And for everybody else, just give me a second. So everybody else would come, I guess, too, right? There's an option of facilitator coming, and Brad is going to be having a building soon, so I guess...
We still go to the family.
Okay. Would still go, yeah, right? So they don't have to come. Okay. And for you guys, you would be coming too, right?
Yeah,
your facilitators.
After talk to people's houses, get me better. People don't want to, they want to be somewhere else, they'll definitely do that. But
okay.
I like it if they don't clean, because then I feel like I don't have to clean my house too. So it's kind of win-win.
Okay. So it's the same thing too. So technically, everybody would be coming to you.
Okay, thank you.
And they fine with the house.
And we would also have facility come to, or we've also, for some of us that are farther away, we had one family in Grand Prairie that they came for one visit, and then we also Skyped for another visit, so that just logistics was
okay, I think Kathy was first. Yeah, okay, just this.
Sure. So I've been in school for 13 years, and there's one thing that I'll say that was common to every single year, and it was that change. Change was common. So when I started out, I just picked a school board that made sense, and then we went with it, and how it worked for us worked for a while. We had to change the facilitator, and then we kind of changed. We changed school boards, and then we changed school boards. There's all sorts of interesting options for helping out homeschoolers these days. And so the choice you make is not going to be a wrong one. It's going to be a choice. And then you can see how it works for you. You can try out curriculum, you can try out unschooling, you can try out anything. And your facilitators or your education managers and the boards, they'll be there to help you. And you'll either get the level of help that you want or you won't. And then you make the choice based on that. So it's just an interesting journey. And the way you started is just by starting. And then going from there. Do you know that every day is going to be the same? No. No day will ever be the same. And once you think you've got things figured out, well then it'll change and then you figure something else out. So it's just a point of starting.
Wise words.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions or just?
I don't. I was just hearing that it was kind of, you know, do I have to make a decision that's exactly the right decision for me that's
Yeah,
going
you
to
can
last
change
forever?
it. Like you can be 1 year with one board, another year you think it doesn't fit you, you can switch it anytime. It's all fine. And I guess at that time there was not much choices around me, right? Because Kathy was one of the building board of SHiNE actually. They started SHiNE in 2003. I guess because there was not much activities going on around. So that's why they were trying to build community. That's where the whole thing, the idea of SHiNE started as a one platform that would unite everybody, all the school boards, all the parents, all the classes, all the businesses together and just bring and build that strong homeschooling community. That when everybody feels connected and everybody can, you know, interchange their resources and they can find things that fit them the best, to have choices. That was the best thing, right? Choices. That's what SHiNE is about. So, is there anything you want to ask, or should I move just to?
I'll just add one other thing. Also, public brick schools aren't for everybody, for sure. They serve a purpose for some people. They're good for a lot of people. They don't work for everybody. But even people don't have to feel bad if they decide, hey, I don't feel like homeschooling this year. Homeschooling's not good for this kid this year. If that kid wants to go back into a brick school, or if it's best for the family situation. Again, those are things to feel okay about. You know, maybe it's not the whole dream you have, but
I was going to agree with what you have to say,
Yeah.
Kathy. We ask our parents to every year make an evaluation for every one of their kids.
Yeah.
Because again, the circumstances change. Your circumstances change every single year. So I know we didn't always speak positively about options, certain options, but like I said, I recommend that you don't do that, because the issue is at some point, perhaps maybe your junior high student decides to actually go on to high school because there's an amazing photography program offered somewhere. Or another student.
Underground, free.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the cameras are provided, and they have their own space in the galleries.
But I'm just saying that people make different choices. So for example, one of my staff members who has homeschooled her children for 13 years, 14 years, somewhere in there, one of the students decided to go to high school, another one decided to go to a Catholic school, and then the last one she kept at Phoenix and homeschooled through us. So all of those things, they change. So again, make the evaluation year to year based on your family's needs, and your students and your child's needs.
My son went back for Japanese.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one thing we don't have yet. I will think about it. Japanese.
He actually went back for Japanese, and he did from grade 10 to grade 12 Japanese at Memorial. So,
Yeah.
they,
Is there any other
there's
questions?
lots of options.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Like start for the first row and then go back. Yeah.
You can't see me, but I have hands.
So let's start with the row one and then
May I
go
go
to
first?
here.
Oh, okay. My question was, so I had my kids out since last Thursday, but I emailed this teacher and the principal asking for them to collect their stuff so I could go pick it up. But they haven't mailed or messaged me back. Is it okay to bring the kids with me to go grab it tomorrow morning? Do I have to go grab it myself? Like, what do I do? Because I think that they're not emailing me back because of this deadline thing.
I would have your child in building.
No, and they haven't been since Thursday.
I wouldn't even have you go. We've had problems with administrators saying, well, the child wasn't in the school building, but you were as a parent. But that doesn't matter.
They just pick it up later.
Just come next week.
Sure. Okay, so at least it was in the same school. They just leave all their stuff. They're marked absent. Like they can throw it in their backpack. I'm good.
They can mail it.
I don't know.
Tomorrow is still safe.
Yeah.
It just, if you have the stuff out, then it's clean that you're gone. Your stuff's still there. They could rely on that too.
Yeah.
Or do I just maybe get like a friend that holds like?
Yeah.
Because I know people that go to the school. Maybe get another mom to grab it. Maybe.
I can grab it for you if you want. That's why we have SHiNE.
Yeah.
It's not the first time we do that, trust me. I had to actually call and negotiate with the schools sometimes because my kids used to be in schools and we tried different schools and Catholic and public and different levels of education. So that's why sometimes you have to just have a third person to advocate for things. Easy. Like,
And then the last question is, I owe school fees for last year and I want to pay them tomorrow. But how do I, will that even keep me locked in, or like, how do I
If
go
they
with
want to
that?
mess you around, they will.
Yeah.
So,
Well, my
if-
kid's a little shit disturber, apparently. So they would be okay with letting him go. I don't know. But he does bring in some money, so who knows?
Friday is the big day. So tomorrow, yeah, you're free. I would just stay away as long as possible.
Okay.
Just because I've seen some really situations. One other thing another trick that administrators play is they won't get back to you until October 3rd or 4th. So you'll try to talk to the administrator about withdrawing your child, and that administrator is just not available until October 4th.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason.
But you
So-
can register.
I was going to say, if you fill out a notification form, if you filled one out somewhere, yeah, then I can't speak for everybody else, but in our case, we take the notification form and we fill out a cumulative request for the record and notify the school immediately that you are withdrawn as of that date. So, like I said, it wouldn't be a problem for us. If you personally went, your child didn't go, but you went, tomorrow paid off your fees, you could even give them a letter that you have withdrawn, and stuff like that. Like I said, for us it wouldn't be an issue, but like I said, there are times when it can be problematic. If the student is there, it's definitely problematic.
And take somebody with you.
That's good advice. They will also use tactics. I had a mother call me and say, the principal told me that if my kid wasn't in school until you get your letter of acceptance, that you're going to be truant and we're going to report you. And I'm just laughing on the phone. I'm like, this is really silly. Just tell them you're not going to be there and then move on. And it's just tactics. Don't
And
fear.
there's also Department of Ministry of Education. That's what I did in my case. I like to jump over hoops. So instead of doing like the simple things that people do, if you call them, then you ask them to remove your child from, because they have electronic system for students when they're enrolled, they can do it out of there, so without the school. So from the top, that's what I did. They just removed the kid and it was saying inactive, and then after that I registered and just send them whatever the board is. So you could do that too, but I will give you contact just after the panel. Just come to me. I will give you the email where you write and you ask them. You can do that too.
Brett, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I was going to whisper a joke. We all have our horror stories, but it happens. The reason why I would say don't even go tomorrow is just, especially tomorrow, is that we had a situation where a principal marked the child absent on Friday, but it was a medical excused absence. Oh, was it? The child wasn't there. How do you know it was a medical excuse? Well, the child's been sick lately. So it was medically excused, and so it was as if the student was there. I mean, they will try anything. So I just figure if you're gone at least 2 days, Thursday and Friday.
Well, they've been gone since Thursday.
Okay.
One kid Thursday, one kid Friday last.
I just don't trust them.
So, but I don't even know, I hope that the receptionist put it in there, but I don't know. And I have a copy of the email that I sent to the school dated
That's
from
good.
yesterday,
That is good.
saying that I told my kids gather their things, but they're not replying back, so.
You still have it in writing.
I do. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you.
Anytime you're dealing with anyone, you want stuff in writing.
That's true.
Take your child.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, because you guys were two of you, right? Yeah, you can ask. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm keeping my daughter home this year. We may consider putting her back next year. I'm not sure yet. She's been slowly drowning. And I wanted to really preserve the light that is inside of her because it's beautiful. My goal this year is to do like a 3-4 catch-up year because she isn't there in a lot of the foundation basics. And so I don't want to do a full grade anything. I just want to cherry pick what she needs in order to be ready to move forward. My question is, in terms of a learning plan, what kinds of things do I need to pay attention to in that case? I recognize that I'll be registering as a traditional so that I have the flexibility to do that, but what do I do after that?
What grade is she?
She's 10. So we're doing like a grade 3, grade 4 blend. You know, if the school had their way, she'd be in grade 5 this year. She's not ready. She's crying. Don't make me go. I want to. She said, please let me repeat. No, she's fine. You know, she started asking at Christmas. No, she's fine.
So my daughter was homeschooled. She went to SAIT at 15. She was the youngest student that SAIT has ever accepted. She skipped grade 10 and 11, came back to do grade 12 and so on, and now is going to Mount Royal University in Calgary. So there's lots of pathways, and just because kids take a little bit longer time, don't panic. But one of the things that I did with my daughter every single year was we did some diagnostic testing, because that let me understand what was going on with her and that I could create a program that was best suited for her needs. So one year, this kiddo was doing math at grade 7, grade 8 level, and she was in grade 4. But in grade 4, she could barely read at a grade 1, 2 level. So we did the diagnostic testing. It gave us some indicators as to what was going on. There was actually a decoding issue. So we got some private help from our facilitator, our teacher, and she was able to catch up in her reading. So by Christmas, she was working at a grade 4 level. And then the following year, she was working at a grade 6 level. And the year after, she was reading at a third-year university level. This is a kiddo who was born dead, and that's the reason why our school was created. As part of that, we thought that she was able to be revived, and I survived. So we figured that she might have a disability or a challenge. So I was never prepared to put her in a traditional school setting. My partner, and you talked about finding a friend, so my partner who helped create the school, her daughter came to us in grade 4, and she suffered from crippling anxiety. So we started homeschooling out of that, but again, I strongly recommend doing testing, some sort of diagnostic testing, each and every year, because kids can make those radical leaps when they get the right intervention and the right assistance, the love and support of a caring parent as well. So like I said, do some of that, and then you can create the program to fill in the gaps and holes that exist.
Recommend some diagnostic resources?
Everybody here will have different ones that their facilitators may use. It just depends on sort of what the issues are for us. So there's about 5 or 6 different instruments that we use. So rather than go into all of that detail, like I said, come and talk and we can talk about those things.
And actually, whatever you say, the issue, there is a one name for it called uneven development. And it's a lots of kids, like I was wondering when you were telling me this, like whether your kid may be a twice exceptional kid. Because a lot of those kids, they have like, you know, you look at them and some things they're way above, some things they're way below, which is like my kid, one of those cases. And the main reason why I started homeschooling, the main reason SHiNE was revived and all of those programs started and we started offering recreational therapy issues like equine therapy, permaculture, which is called horticultural therapy, that helps those kids a lot to focus. And a lot of them that called it. The thing is with homeschooling, how do you know whether they would be coded in the public system or not if you already homeschooling? You can assess through the private sector, you can put through Alberta Health because there's going to be a wait list, but you can still do that. You just need to kind of pinpoint. If you say the reading is, I can give you resources. There's U of A test in there. It's cheap compared to anything else. If you want to assess her for learning disabilities, there is a psychology, it's called Educational Psychology Clinic, and it's going to cost you, if you have insurance, so its total amount is going to be about like $600, so out of that your insurance will pay the most, so it would be really cheap for that assessment. The wait list is going to be about, I would say, maybe 6 months for that. So by the end, by the end of this year, you would get the testing done, and there is a psychologist who does the testing. So if anything, dyslexia, ADHD, any other things, it could be developmental, it could be just learning specific, like, you have to know that because they're different ones. You would know that. And this is like the most accessible, the easiest way. Or there is tons of professionals private who would do that. And in our community, we actually in SHiNE, we have support group for parents whose children have some kind of learning issues or twice exceptional children. Twice exceptional means gifted and with learning disability. So we have a support group for those. If you want to come, like there is a teacher there who's a teacher that actually specializes in special needs. She can give you some resources, and other parents who homeschooling their children with the same issues, they can give you some resources of where to look for help. And like on options depends what is important for you. Time, how much it's going to cost, the quality of it, like what are you looking for. So we can give you all of those resources too. Yeah.
You mentioned the program plan, and this is something that's different among groups. The program plan itself is your plan, the education program plan, your plan. It doesn't have to meet anybody else's expectations of yours. So some programs are more school-based, so they'll want basically for you to replicate school at home. So in that program plan, they want to see the 4 core courses and some electives and so forth. But that's not, maybe that's not what you want. So if you want something that's more customized, maybe you need to focus on just language arts and math. That's it. Just language arts. Whatever it is, you know what it is. So don't think you're replicating school at home. You don't need the facilitators or the school's permission to create your program plan. It is not their program plan, it's yours. And so we have several families who do have special needs, and they're just delighted with the fact that they can spend the whole year on reading and writing because their child isn't read. What good is it to do history and civics and science, whatever, if the child can't read? And maybe they can read, but they're not comprehending what they're reading. So anyway, all that to say is your education plan is just that. It is your plan. Do not be pressured by the facilitator or the school program to make your plan their plan. It's your plan. And it does not have to model itself after school. And don't think that you're failed if you don't have 4 core or 5 core courses and everything else. It's your plan, and you make it how you want it to be.
I would just add to that and just say it's very helpful for students who have been struggling to focus on their area 3 hours a day on various topics, and that's what floats their boat and excites them and starts to heal some of that that anxiety. And not that, I mean, I'm not going to say anxiety disorders are healed because I have 2 children with severe anxiety, so I'm not going to say that, but it does help to take the pressure off. Or whether it's projects, or they're really into building or constructing or baking things, or whatever it is, following that will help them to find their own passion, their own strength of learning, and then build on that. And then you can bring in their other academics that you eventually would like to do.
Healing the heart, what you talked about basically is healing the heart. Because at first you said she's drowning.
Yeah.
So she needs intervention, and she needs you, most qualified person in the world, a teacher. And so sometimes, like Brett says, don't worry about all the stuff. Just be together, just learn together naturally. As you mentioned, I mean, most learning, like when kids are born, they're just learning naturally. Just follow the kids and their passions. You might need a year of just healing together, of getting really excited about school and finding out about each other and the connections. So don't panic.
And they won't get reprimanded for that? Because from what I heard at Argyle Central School, it's like, holy cow.
Well, legislation says that if you want to homeschool, you have to do home education regulation of 20 learning outcomes. They're very general, learning to become a good citizen, etc. So,
Over the course of 12 years.
Yes, that's true too, yes. And some of them are very much geared to high school. So you look at those and you put them, I mean, Alberta Education showed up at the Networks North meeting and basically said, at least have your families do numeracy and literacy. That's it. And then we'll be okay. So relieve the pressure, relieve it all of yourself, and just have fun, be together, and learn naturally.
Really consistent with what they're saying is, excuse me, don't underestimate yourself. And don't underestimate how much you will learn about, how much you already know about your daughter right now, without all the clinical stuff, and how much you will learn about your daughter in the next year, 2 years. And as valuable as all the outside assessments are, they will not ever make up for what you yourself will develop in your own knowledge of her. So hang on to that, because it's easy to be intimidated by Dr. So-and-so, and you know, and they're all assets, definitely resources to use, but you will ultimately know a lot more than we had a daughter quit school in grade 2, much like yours, In grade 2, she said if it comes out of a book, I'm not interested. This is a kid who taught herself how to read before she was 5. So it wasn't that she couldn't get it, it was that she was being dumbed down and it didn't have any meaning to her. It took us until she was 11, just about 12, before she would write again. And then she started writing stories, novels. So, he's right. Joe's right. Hang in there. You're it.
If it's encouraging, I took my kids out because it was really hard to do. These were my colleagues, and I had to tell them that I was taking my kids away from them. It was quite challenging, and I respected a lot of them. And my kids loved their teachers too. They just had other issues. They loved all of their teachers. It was another issue. So I really like my kids as teachers. That wasn't the issue. But what happened is I told them that it would be 1 year. I told them all. I told my kids. Told everyone, it's 1 year. I'm going to get you caught up, we'll go. But what happened is we had to spend a year, and I was so devastated because I had this huge plan. I was coming, this teacher's going to get this done. And I had to let go throughout the year. Slowly but surely, I started letting go and started letting us do it rather than me do it. And what I get so excited about is when I open their journal today and I can show you that they wrote some creative things about how plants grow. David was saying you have to dance to them for them to grow. Last year I couldn't get anything out of them. No creative fun, no nothing. I don't want to do any of it. I had Robert bawling in tears when I put a pencil in his hand. It took a year, but it was okay. And I wasn't okay with it. I had to be the first one to be okay with it. But when I was okay with it, we were all okay. And then everything just started like, boom. And I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, look at what we can do now. And it's a lot of fun, but it's okay. Just if that helps.
And talking about self-confidence too, like it's a self-confidence issue too, because in schools it's often, like in our experience with my child, who is not one of those who would run and just get things that he want to, he was just all the time left behind, just sitting there because he could complain and he was too shy to say what was wrong. So for him it was self-confidence, and he was coming home in tears like, Zach's stupid, that's what he was saying. Zach's stupid. It's like, you're not stupid. That kid couldn't read. Like in kindergarten, he didn't know his letters. Now we're halfway through Mensa list, reading list, which is like meant to be like for up to grade 3. And we already have done it. So he's reading now and normal. It's just because the idea is just once they have that readiness inside, I'm ready to learn, I want to try it, then it's all going to go easily. And to that time, first you need to kind of let it go, just to see, like, to give relaxed. Like, imagine for people, like, I don't want to compare it, like, because she said, like, she doesn't want to mention anxiety, but then people who went through trauma, that's what, like, often it is. How? What do you need to do first? You need to let it go. Just let it go. Just let it, like, so you don't push too much. You don't try to recreate, because lots of problems happen when that's what with me was initially. I tried to do the same thing they do in school. Here we go. That's the time. 40 minutes we have math. 40 minutes we have, and it's not working that way. It just the kid is getting the same. You're getting the same reaction he had in school. It's like no, and crying, and all the stuff is on the floor. No. Once they just get that feeling, you connect back. You have that trust, and then the child is ready to explore. And that's all the things that are going to happen, so you'll be fine. Trust me.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
I had a student join us last year, mid-year, out of grade 5, because they were having quite a bit of troubles in school, and it was affecting the family dynamics, quite frankly. And so when they brought the student home, they decided to take some time and just heal as a family and spend time together. He still had an older sister in school, and they did what a lot of people refer to as de-schooling, where they just left school aside and spent time together, went on field trips, did fun activities. And it happened to be close to his birthday. He got a Nerf gun. It said it was supposed to shoot, however, 20 meters or something. So they decided, well, let's test it. And they started going outside to the field and shooting the Nerf gun and finding how far it went and finding the average, what does it really shoot, testing the other ones they had. Neighborhood kids got involved. What's going on? And this became a big unit study with a whole bunch of kids in the neighborhood, homeschooled and not, mostly not actually, and did a whole bunch of math without realizing they were doing math. Had so much fun, and it's just snowballed from there. And they're having so much fun learning at home that this year the sister stayed home as well.
Yes.
A question for Will.
Yes.
Well, it's guess I know you have to be in Canada on September 30th in order to apply for funding. But do all of your boards allow, if, say we want to go to Bali for 6 months, would that be an issue? Like, can you still?
Yeah, that's not a problem. The first statement you said, though, is actually a little bit off. You have to be an Alberta resident upon registration at September 30th. But we have many families that are sailing around the world. I have one family in Serbia right now. You can go and travel. That's one of the benefits. I mean, in the olden days, you know, homeschooling was different. Now, there's so many reasons people homeschool. It could be for athletic reasons and training and all this stuff like that. But one of them is travel. And it gives you that opportunity, that freedom. And just because you're far away, I'll tell you, we get to know some of our kids better that are abroad than the ones that are here, because they're sending pictures and emails. This is what I'm learning about, and this is really cool. And the greatest learning experience that they could possibly have is travel. So it's highly encouraged, and of course we accept it.
So is every board different? Because from the Argyle board, they said after 3 months of being out of the country, they have no connection
That's
here.
their policy.
That's their policy? Oh, okay. Because we went out, we were just like, yeah.
So if you don't want funding though, and you just want to be registered with a board, could you be gone for like years at a time and not need to be in Alberta, or is that where it gets kind of like sticky?
Funding legislation for funding is that you are a taxpaying. Where's the tax base coming from? That you're here on September 30th. So you could go for that year. That's in my knowledge, that's the legal definition of it.
But if you didn't want that funding, would you still be registered with the school board and do it from anywhere?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That's
Without funding. Yeah, that's the funding manual that dictates that. So yes, absolutely. In fact, we have a family right now that's in India without funding because they don't care about that. So they've got that and they're just like, we're just going to go. And without any deadlines, so to speak.
I mean, it costs more to fly back for
yeah, exactly.
the time
it's
that
only
it
$800 bucks.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, yeah.
Yes.
I have a first grader, and she's signed up with a homeschooling board that's not here right now. We were told that I have to teach her English, math, social, and science.
Central for Learning?
Yeah. Oh, Central for Learning. Now, my question is, do I have to do that? Can I teach her English because she's a little bit behind in the English aspect?
Can I like chime into that for
Sure,
1 sec? So we're with them as well right now. We're board shopping. But so for social, like they actually accept us just doing like museums and reading like books about different places. Like it's very well, my like educational plan is very broad, and they seem to have accepted that. But I also had to fight for them to accept that. So yeah, if you're just like, this is what I really want to do, and just kind of, I don't know,
They
people
kind of told me
book
that I have to do arts as well as music and some other subjects. But I was like,
Are you traditional?
yeah.
Really?
Really?
What sometimes happens is the school may allow you to believe that you are doing a parent delivery program, but flag in the field. The school is telling you what you must teach. 90% chance, either they're very ignorant about your rights, so that could be 10%, or 90% they actually have you coded as something other than a parent-delivered program. And they need to show government that these courses are being done under the authority of the school.
That's what they do.
Without parents knowing.
So if I am registered right now in Seattle, but I want to switch over to another one.
Tomorrow.
Well, like, Bill is the board tonight, you have to do it.
All of us.
And then we'll fight it out.
There's a lot of boards that are very and really for grade 1 and she's looking here at that's grade 1 now.
So everybody is there. Don't buy it. It's not real.
And it might be just getting, talking to the person again and clarifying.
Well, no, that I spoke to them again because they mentioned that in art and music was a must as well. And I mentioned to them that I knew a few parents that weren't doing grade 1, and so they dropped those two, but they said that I still had to keep the social science and the science. And math and English is just an automatic have to keep.
Leave your plan as broad as you can possibly do it,
Okay.
because listening to
Yeah,
music can be
that's
your
how
music.
we did it.
Yeah.
But unless you're not.
So this is why we're
You might be in a
shopping,
shared
but that's what we did
responsibility
to get around it.
that you think is traditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's happened before.
You just have to be very careful.
If they're telling you how to homeschool, that's not homeschool.
Yeah.
Like move to something that's actually
Yeah.
I don't think this is mentioned yet, but your program plan is a living document. It can change throughout the year. So whatever you're writing now, it may change, and that's absolutely fine. And you just send in updates.
And as far as when you're getting like funds back, so long as it's in your program plan, then you can, and it's within the allowed things that you can get money for, then you can get receipted for that. So, but if it's not in the plan, then you just have to change the plan. It's simple. So, all right, thanks.
And we'll have a question on this side too, because everybody's turned there.
I don't remember what schools offer kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Does anybody offer kindergarten? Okay, we have for Willow Spread.
Willow Spread.
It's for kindergarten students.
Is that the only one?
Yeah, ours is a registered kindergarten program. So it is an on-site program. You have to come to the campus to do school.
And then I don't believe we get funding for kindergarten, right?
That's correct.
We give the transportation grant, so it's $548.
And then for funding, like how does it work? Is it okay if like one of the parents is an Alberta resident? Because I'm in the process of getting my immigration from the States, so I don't know how that works.
Well, where do you live?
Resident, so you have to
Your
be
residence here.
You're resident.
You don't have to be a citizen.
Yeah.
You just have to be a resident.
Oh.
So you drive
You have
your
your permanent
license, that's where you
resident
have
card.
the state of birth, your address,
That's
your
correct.
residence.
Mine does not. My husband's does.
Yeah.
So you live in, yeah, like, so as long as you live in, like, you were registered for, like, your bill, your, I don't know, phone, your house, like, wherever you register, it doesn't have to be citizen.
Wisdom also, we don't have a kindergarten program, so you don't register for kindergarten, but Wisdom offers support for parents who want to do kindergarten programs. We have a number of resources that we can provide parents.
And can I look that up online?
Yeah, or call the office.
Willow is the same ways. We have a facilitator support resources. They have full access to all of our activities, things like that.
You can just join the Friends of Little
Yes?
Does anyone have a facilitator familiar with like kids who speak a different language? So like my son's major language is Russian, and he just started his wife just started to learn English. Is there anyone
I will try to help
with the best way to learn English is to be around the kids. But if you're not in school, like we do a lot of activities, but it's like it's not daily. Any suggestions?
So you think like ESL, well, when you go to classes, sign him up, like, not just activities, but like classes that you will be coming into every week, like art or robotics. A lot of those, like, they collaboratives, the kids supposed to communicate when they do stuff together, and that's when they pick up the language.
Yeah, we do, but it's still, he's not fluent. We did like a lot last year, like 3 days, he spent 3 hours, blah, 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 but he's like, it's still.
He's a learning machine. He'll become fluent quickly. I wouldn't worry about that at all. If he's mixing with other people, and if you speak English at home, he'll be. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Everywhere around you is speaking English.
So I'm head to toe, only ever went to French school, French university, French high school, French everything. Only ever spoke French at home. And I can speak better English than I can French, which is ironic. But my whole whole family. So second language stuff, like really keep what you've got in Russian and love it, and he's going to get lots and lots and lots of English. Like it's going to come from everywhere.
Yeah, don't stop
Everywhere.
speaking Russian.
Don't stop that. Like go lots. I pulled my kids out 1 year. They can't talk to grandma in French anymore. 1 year. Like, oh man. There's no French school boards. Guys.
The brain actually functions differently when you can think in more than one language at the same time. Or you will find that he will be able to pick up other languages much more quickly than your average child. Because the brain is entirely wired differently when you speak more.
I know.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Anything to...
Time to register.
Okay, is there one more? Yeah?
If I want to switch over, it's showing the address that I have to registration.
You can email it. Yeah, actually there are fillable forms on our website, and you can just email them. Or I can give you a form and you can fax it, or whatever.
Yeah, don't mail your form.
Yeah, don't snail mail.
Okay. Yeah. I just had a comment, sorry, for the lady over there who just pulled her kids out of school. If all the school has is school supplies, personally, I would rather have it. At the end of the year, you'd be throwing it in the garbage anyway. I don't think it would be worth going there for like $50 worth of school supplies, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, there's a pair of shoes, like whatever.
Shoes are cheap.
They don't need indoor school shoes no more.
That's good. And by Christmas, they're out broke. You're buying a new pair anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if they're decent, they'll give their cousin to have the classroom like 2 doors down. And if
Yeah,
not, then I guess whatever.
if it was me, I would not do it. I would go back, not for school supplies.
Okay. Is there any other questions? We're done? Okay, there's one question actually from lady from Facebook I wanted to ask because she's already registered, but the question she has, when your boards are releasing funding means when they can submit actually and have their money back. Is there any dates, like what's going to be for you?
We basically ask people to save as many receipts as possible and submit as many as possible. But they can submit receipts basically any time. So
you would reverse it any time?
Yeah.
Say they submit
If you needed $20, that's because we've had families over the year who said, I couldn't afford to buy resources. And we would say, well, either please come tell us, and we will either buy the resources on your behalf, or arrange for a PO system or something like that. Or if it's $20 because you bought this, bring the receipt and we'll give you $20 so you can go buy more. So you should never be in a position where you're without resources. There are some guidelines. Alberta Education releases funding on a schedule, so no board will reimburse you before September 30th. Like I said, it's... Okay, well, but you are a public board, you have maybe a bigger purse.
Yeah, use it from our resources.
So for you guys, it's any time? Like,
yeah,
doesn't
if
matter
you're
what?
registered with us in the spring and you want to purchase something over summer, if you're registered, go for it.
So it's School of Hope. School of Hope would have any time?
We don't reimburse before the end of September, but we do purchase orders. So if you need something, we'll supply a
they can
purchase
order
order number and
directly
they
through
can
you.
buy it and we pay for it.
Okay. Okay. And
If I register with somebody, say today or tomorrow, but I purchased curriculum in August,
That's fine.
oh, as long as I still have those receipts.
Yep.
Okay.
And for you too, guys, like when is your, like when you start reimbursing, would it be like?
My guess is after September 30th. I actually don't know the financials because that's not really my thing. And
okay.
Yes, I called at 5 o'clock to do this. So,
because like you heard right now, sure. Yes.
Yeah. So we do receipt. I think a few times a year, but I'm not exactly sure. We don't. I'm not sure if we do it constantly.
Okay, so what's with Willow? Because that's your family asking the question.
That's right. We send out checks just before Christmas and then at the end of the year. But you can, anything you've been purchasing through the summer or even in the spring, no problem. We'll reimburse that.
Even if we weren't registered with your school prior to?
That is correct. Yeah, so for instance, there's a lot of families go to these big homeschooling conventions or whatever.
last year.
Right, and
I still have receipts from.
anyways, they will purchase
What
all
about
kinds of
field trips?
curriculum. And then they join us now. Sure, we'll cover it.
So practically that's December for now? Like for you?
Yeah, so any receipts that come in now are paid out. Just because we're a small staff, we can't do it all the time. So, because all of our team, they all
Is
come
it
in
for
and we do it
everybody
together.
or just for Edmonton kind of branch? Because they were asking whether it's because like you knew in Edmonton, it's just this year you got the facility.
Well, yeah, but they can, if they purchase something in June, that's still okay.
Okay.
Like what I'm saying is
But the money when you've given it actually to them would be still
December,
December. Doesn't
yeah. We
matter
just do it
where
twice
they
a
are.
year, pay out in December before Christmas and then in the end of June. And they can do it half and half, they can do it, wait till the end, get it all, it's up to the family.
Okay.
What we can't reimburse is summer camps, classes that happen over the summer.
Yeah, but that's the same with everybody, the
That's
standards,
every year.
that's just the standards.
So the summer is for everybody, right?
Yeah, so like if they did
When
art
is
camp
their
in
summer? Is
July,
it like
they
the end of June? Like what is everything now after end of June and before the 1st of September? That's like, that's
Yeah,
all
so I
regular
know.
stuff?
Yeah, so if it was like a camp, like a day camp or something like that, we can't.
So what if it's a yearly program? Let's say robotics that goes like through the whole year and it doesn't stop in summer. How
We
would
have
that
to
would work?
prorate it, so you're only getting reimbursement from September to June.
Okay, so you still have to just kind of calculate the portion.
It's just the government's way of saying if you don't homeschool,
It's not our rule.
we'll punish you a little bit. I mean, if you don't go to
Government's
school.
way of saying you couldn't possibly be teaching through the summer.
That's right.
Shut up.
That's what they say.
Okay, and for these, the same like with everybody September or even before that?
Reimbursement.
We'll do the PO system.
PO system, say like Wisdom, I guess does, right? Because you guys have to deliver it right away.
And then you're both by 15th of November, right?
Yes.
If you've already submitted your receipt.
Yeah, if you submit your receipts by the end of September, you get an EFT on November 15th. If you're new and you submit your receipts by, I think it's the middle of October, you get an EFT in December.
Okay, and another question is here, like what about the games, if they're learning games, like math games and other stuff, does anybody reimburse that one?
Absolutely.
Because they were told that the board doesn't reimburse, so
Yes.
that's why I'm asking. So
We just
does
have to be careful on the board game. Like, we get some requests that are kind of iffy.
like
but-
what? For example, I'm not sure what they're asking about.
It helps if the title has some math word in it or science, something like that.
Toys, Lego, so anything.
I mean, we will look it up. Well, when we have
What
the
about
computer right there,
leapfrog?
but
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
we have
leapfrog?
absolutely we have to
Yeah.
be cautious. Those are some of the games. Like don't. It's a judgment call on some of those games.
Well, that's why like they ask it sounds like facilitator, or they bored, like they didn't consider that as a
I can see. I mean, sometimes the board games aren't. Yeah.
Like for us, like
I
a
can't
lot
think
of our
of
stuff
it.
is like a Waldorf. When people see that, they're like, "That's a toy." I'm like, no, that's a Waldorf resource. So that one, that when you look at it, that's for sure like looks like a toy, but you have to know the system.
I think you've got a question back here.
Yeah.
So how do the different boards handle funding for year-round schoolers?
Well, for us, the receipts has to be before July. Can't be in July and August. They can't be doing. We can't pay for swim lessons during July. That kind of thing. It has to be done in the school year, the 10 months of the school year.
This used to not be a problem.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Alberta Education decided they had a better idea than the schools as to how reimbursement should happen. And so they created basically a document that outlines how every school can reimburse. And they've done it from their perspective, which is very institutional, without very much at all any attention to how education really happens at home. We're hoping that eventually that will change. We need somebody friendly at Alberta Education to help the process, but
For now, we're spending.
Well, I think a lot of families just end up spending things that
are part of education, and you just need to figure out which things are part of it is an easier thing than summer, a day camp that your child went to, or things like that. So.
But certainly anything you buy through the summer is fine. Any resources you buy. And with us, we actually honor receipts up to 2 years old. Because sometimes you'll buy something and go, no, not yet. Right? But it was a really good deal and it was a good idea at the time, but you didn't use it. So we haven't had any pressure yet from Alberta Education on that. So.
With Willow, it's your home education managers that process your resource planning. So when we're going through it, we know you, we know your program, we know what you're doing, and we can make suggestions for what you're doing.
Okay, and there's one more question here. Like, how is it possible to not to switch the board but switch the facilitator? And would you keep the funding then or no?
Yeah,
like if you stay with the same board, but you request them to switch facilitator,
their funding is their
not?
funding if they're still with the same school.
Yeah.
And I think probably, well, speak for us, yes. If somebody really is not clicking with their facilitator, that's something we honor in the family.
And when would that supposed to happen? Is like specific
Well, it can happen
deadline
whenever
or
it needs to. If you have your first visit and it really is a no-go, you can request another facilitator. Now, we generally encourage people to try to at least give it a year because maybe after you've met the person the second time, you won't despise them too much. Or there might be other things, or more. But we try to, encourage people to go the year. But, if you say, no, this is a no-go, I just do not like this person, no problem. The parent's in charge.
That's, I think, the same for all of us.
Yeah, simple request is all it takes. No problem.
I got friends here.
Okay, I'll take a wisdom then. Like wisdom says you can, for sure. Okay, then one thing, like I don't know, people asking like what boards would have more things for high school and who would have graduation actually. Which is, I remember, I think you already answered, I think it was School of Hope, right? That you guys would have graduation, actually like a ceremony because they asked if they want to have something like that.
We do.
But you guys do?
Yeah,
like
Willow has
we
a
do
graduation
too.
ceremony.
Is it in Calgary or like here?
Well, the one we have right now is in Calgary. Our population here is expanding to the point where we would look at a local one here for Edmonton.
Okay, because we're planning to do one for whole community, like with the SHiNE. That's why I'm asking. Was it as cool as our Pride and Prejudice this year, or was it just like kind of tradition? Because you can just give certificate and it's like, oh, big party. That's why I'm asking.
It's a beautiful evening.
Our graduation is really nice.
But still, for now, Calgary, right? So for this year, like if there's kids in high school and they want to have that.
For this year, as far as I know, it's only Calgary, but if we have a demand in Edmonton, that's something we'd look at.
And School of Hope, would that be, you guys are mostly Calgary, like where is your main location? Where would that? So that's where the place is. Yeah. Okay, so they would
We do as well.
Yeah.
So we have a year-end ceremony every year.
Okay.
Because we have students all over the province, what we do is we support graduations, but we encourage the local community support groups to, we help them coordinate with each other. Okay, you've got so many students graduating this year. Get them together. One of us will come if they want us and present them with their scrolls if they wish.
Well, yes, that's what we're together. We plan to do this together, so kind of it's more people there, so it's more fun. It's rather than like brother and sister.
Some people actually prefer that. Some people actually do just a thing with immediate family or.
Yeah, but I believe if they ask him, they want to have the party. Most probably.
The other support, now you said support for high school, did you mean more than just?
I don't know if there's things, activities for high school and who would do the graduation party. That was a general question, so I guess who would support maybe.
Okay, well, we also support high school students to help them determine their way through high school and parents. And post-secondary, we do an annual high school conference. So this year it starts the evening of, or supper time, on November 2nd and all day on November 3rd.
Okay.
And Nate has become so enamored of homeschoolers. This will be the third year in a row that they are hosting pro bono the facility for this conference. It's only as a result of Nate coming to previous high school conferences that we put on and realized oh my goodness, we want these kids. So now they want them in the building to see the building while they're doing the high school.
Well, that's how we're doing math fair with UA this year, because we just saw this, like, you know, interest in all of those bright kids, like, we want them, sure.
The University of Calgary now is looking for homeschoolers in their different faculties, because they realize that these kids are self-directed, they're motivated learners, and so they want them on their campuses. So they actually have a quota that they're trying to fill.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Another option some parents may not be aware of is that there's now dual enrollment in high school. And so you can be registered for high school as well as doing college, and the school pays for the college. So my daughter, for instance, is registered at school, but she's also doing, she started sign language and deaf culture studies through Lakeland College. And so she's in the building school part of it. So but she's also doing college courses 2 nights a week.
That needs to be a school delivered program.
That is a school delivered program. But in the future, that may be something that parents can be aware of, that there are things like that. Not to say that we should stop home educating to do that, but it's an option that in the future may be able to do other things.
So that's related to last question. People asking, like, would they get a diploma, the high school diploma, if the kids are going to, like, if they're going to homeschool? That's technically a general question. Somebody just started.
I think parents have the option. They just need to think through, and the student needs to think through, do they want a high school diploma?
But it sounds like they want, because they ask you, like, they get it. Like, I don't want it, but
so
just...
yes, with our school, you can get a high school diploma.
Yeah.
We're more about looking at what exactly do you want to do, and is doing the requirements of the high school diploma going to get you
I would say probably everyone around this table would make it possible for a student to get a high school diploma.
Okay, so everybody would do the diploma. So and then they would have credits and university. Then that's what I guess them.
You don't need a high school diploma to go to post-secondary.
Okay, I guess that's my question now. For any enrollment in university, like people often say you don't need the diploma. Would it be for all specialties? What about medical, let's say, or
It varies by institution and it varies by program. But for many of the programs in Alberta, you do not need a high school diploma. You need specific 30-level courses for those more academic careers, or it's just specific courses depending on what program you're going into.
Actually, there's no university in Alberta that requires a high school diploma. As she
So
says,
they require courses with the credit.
Specific courses.
You have to do entry exams.
You have to do basically your 30-level diploma.
Yep, and there's
Sorry, my oldest daughter is just started her first year university at Concordia. They have separate entrance requirements for homeschoolers. You don't even have to follow the Alberta curriculum. They have a separate entrance program specifically for homeschoolers. So you don't even need to worry about their level 30 courses or high school courses or anything.
So do they do like their own assessment then?
They do their own assessment. You go in and they will have you do like, I don't know what they do, but yeah, they have like specific homeschooling entrance requirements. And it's not based on the Alberta curriculum.
That's probably because they've had really good success with homeschoolers. About 5 years ago, my son finished a second degree there, and the one of the deans at Concordia said, we did an analysis, and 100% of people who identified themselves as homeschoolers finished in the top 10% at our university. And so they're looking at that and going, we want students that are actually going to do really well. And this is where they're coming from, with or without credentials.
That's really nice to know.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's encouraging.
So it's all for today then. Thank you everybody for coming. It was really a resourceful evening. Like I like that actually, like, you know, with the boards there's more people coming, we have more questions, and they're different a little bit at least every time. So hopefully we're going to be doing this again, and there's new families going to be joining every time. Just remember what was said, that if you want to register, if you decided to go, like there is a forms there, so you can pick it up now, and you can, most probably that would be emails too, right there for everybody. Yeah? There would be emails right written there, so you can email it, so you get it before the deadline, and you can start for your journey.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. you, Amy.
Bye, Amy.
Okay, hopefully I didn't keep you too long. Thank you. Okay.
Talk to Mary.